So what we were asked to do is do what everybody has done, and that's a synopsis of what we do in repair, to be prepared, our readiness. The first thing we do is we order our supplies. This is done every year in May. In May, the first things that are crucial is we order the paper, because in knowing that many of our residents, we have to meet them where they are. A lot of them don't have cell phones that have communication skills. A lot of our elderly people, who, even though they have cell phones, they may not know how to use them. So we always make sure that we do a two-pronged thing. We send out the information, we put it on our website, but we also pass out the sheets to every single unit. The first thing we do is we pass them out for a tropical storm watch, tropical storm warning, a hurricane watch, and a hurricane warning, because we want to start as early as possible getting them prepared and getting them ready. So we do the yellow paper for the tropical storm. We do the bright orange for the watch for a hurricane. Then we do the red for the hurricane warning. And what we do with that is we also get our hurricane supplies. We check our tarps. We get the extra tarps. We get the gloves, the water intrusion barriers, and all of those things. We immediately, what I didn't put on there, because as you know, it's not enough space to put everything on there, but we deploy our maintenance teams. The first thing that they do is they work with our contractors that we have that deal with roofing. Any roof leaks that we've already have that have been noted, we make sure that those tarps are covered with blue. We make sure that they're top down so that they don't come off in the midst of the hurricane or in the midst of the tropical storm. Because as you know, what we found out in Fort Pierce and in St. Lucie County, we didn't have a direct hit from a tropical storm, but we had a direct hit from a tropical storm. We also had one from Hurricane Jean and Francis, but the tropical storm did more damage than Jean and Francis did back in those days. So just because it's a hurricane and it's a tropical storm doesn't mean you have less damage, because as we all know, water versus wind. We also make sure that we do the assessments, as I said, with the gutters, the drains, and then we have a system that we direct all of our phone lines directly to our answering service. The answering service answers all calls for all agencies during that time. And we also have an emergency line that all of our employees know, and they're immediately locked into that phone number, which means that they have to call once we get into a tropical storm warning. They call every day that morning to find out. And I have it on my phone, Rosetta has it on her phone. We're able to real live time update the information. Come in at 10, come in at 9. We will not be in the office today. And then likewise, they send that to our answering service as well. The system we use is a company called Level 4 that's stationed in Stuart, Florida. And Level 4 is able to real time, on time. And as a matter of fact, even though Rosetta and I are out of the office, I can dial someone's number and it appears as if I'm in my office. So it comes directly from my extension. Anybody that calls my office line gets my cell phone right now, so that I'm never out of touch with the office. The beautiful thing about that system also, just for a plug, I'm able to go on my phone and go to the directory and see who's on their phone while they're in the office. So if I'm calling, so if I call and they say, I'm sorry, I'm on the phone. Nah, you weren't. But that's a Level 4 is the company. And it's wonderful because if a tenant calls and say, I've been calling all week long and my manager won't answer the phone, I call Level 4. This is the phone number. Can you check and tell me how many times it called? They've only called once. So then I'm able to tell the tenant, yes, you called, but you didn't leave a message. If you don't leave a message, it's not beneficial to you. So that's one of the key things that we deploy. As soon as the storm comes in, so when they call, Level 4 is able to leave a message and say that we're sorry, this phone has been redirected. And then our answering service, which is a 24-hour answering service, they call and they're able to say, Ms. Britton is not in because of the storm. They will be back afterwards. So that's the first thing we do as far as readiness is concerned. All of our staff, we have what's called senior staff and we have regular employees. Senior staff is considered our task force, which means myself, Rosetta, the programs manager, the administrative assistant, finance director, and maintenance supervisor and operations. We are the 7 people who are considered our senior staff. In the case of an event, we're the ones that are coming back into the agency, even if nobody else is there. So then with the next step, response. We also let our tenants know safety of our staff is just as important as your safety. We will not go out once the winds go above 30 miles an hour. And we will not go back out again until they've receded below 30 miles. I know and we tell them all the time, the police and the fire station, theirs is 40, ours is 30, because we can't trust our vehicles are as good as theirs. So after the winds have subsided immediately, and let me go back to readiness. We have 3 amps, amp 1, amp 2, amp 3. We have 3 amp maintenance captains. When a hurricane is called, they take their vehicles home with them. Amp 1 takes his, amp 2 takes his, amp 3 takes his. As soon as the storm is over, they're immediately to go out and start to assess their amps and to see where they are and what the situation, what has occurred, be it flooding, be it roofs, be it any type of debris or any kind of damage. In addition to that, as I talked about the senior managers and the senior staff and the project managers, we check on, yes. Yes. Our maintenance staff have individual trucks that are assigned to them. So when that occurs, they take that truck home so that they're able, and they're adding the extra supplies for the amp. So they're immediately able to do an assessment. And even if it's like, let's say the storm ends at 12 at night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, they've got an emergency call. Well, the storm is gone. They're able to then go out. They have things on it to take care of an emergency in that situation. We'll do emergencies during the time after a hurricane. If we've already assessed that if it's really bad, we only will operate the emergency times during the times that the government will allow you, because they deploy a lot of times the reserve, which says that you can't be out after a certain time. One more thing to back up. I'm sorry, I didn't put it on the slide. But when we hear that there's a tropical storm watch, then we immediately, HR provides a letter, because we're first responders, provides a letter to be able to show to the police department, the fire department, to say we have a right to be on the street because we have our badge and our letter saying we've got to get to the housing authority. So once they do that assessment, we already have vendors that are in place. We have our vendors that are in place to take care of our trees, and we have a new lawn maintenance, because before they got bad, they were absolutely awesome, to the sense that they would call, Ms. Rhonda, we are ready. We got our chainsaws, we got gas, we got everything. As soon as the storm is over, we're going out. He'd be out 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. This is where your limbs are down. We've already gotten them picked up. We put them on the side. The city is coming in. We have an agreement with the city that they're supposed to come in and get them. We don't have to haul them as long as we put them on the side in a bundle. So we take care of that. We also have our roofers, and we don't just have one. We have a team of 4. And that is so that we can deploy all of them at the same time if we have to, and we won't overshadow our thresholds in any situation, because we've done that ahead of time. As far as electrical, every one of our teams has a plumber that's a part of that team. I'm not saying how great they are. Have HVAC, and they have an electrician. So the amp 1, amp 2, and amp 3 are supposed to have that in core people who can take care of that. But we do have outside vendors who come in as well. Then we have a situation. I also do procurement as well as asset management, so that I already have it lined up ahead of time and after time exactly what we'll need. And the good thing about being a small agency in a small town is we've developed relationships with Lowe's and Home Depot, so that I'm able to call and say, Peggy, a storm is coming. Until we had changed administrators, there was a time when Lowe's even had a PHA warehouse within their own system. But procurement, the terrible person, went and said, but you can't be saying that you're going to dedicate all of this to one area. So needless to say, there's advantages and disadvantages when you have to follow procurement guidelines. So then finally, we work with our local agencies to assist the tenants with disaster relief needs. And I'll just be very transparent and very upfront here. Rosetta was the finance director for 15 years before she became the ED, and she's worked at the agency for almost 30 years. We were under administrations that told us that all we needed to do was secure the houses, secure the grounds, and let the people deal with other agencies. So the revamp is going to be really big for us as far as getting mindsets changed. because we still have the same maintenance departments, we still have the same program people. So getting them to recognize that we have to meet their social needs as well as their dwelling needs is going to be a challenge, but we're up for the challenge. So then as far as recovery, the most important thing for us for recovery is to work with the contractors and maintenance staff to continue the mitigation process. Now, we had a question about what is mitigation. For us, our definition at that point to stay within procurement is to make sure that we do whatever is necessary to remove the immediate threat to safety and to health. So once we've done that, then we can go back in and do regular procurement on the situation. So we put the green tops, or we put the blue tops on, we take care of the initial plumbing lines, we do whatever is necessary to do a quick fix in order to hold and sustain until we can do the actual procurement on that. Our offices, as I told you, with COVID, we didn't close ever. So the most important thing is, in order to get our tenants to recognize that life goes on, is to open back up as quickly as possible. Some of the challenges will be what happens if your administrative building does blow down. We haven't, but we'll work on that. But right now, we also make sure that the maintenance staff goes on 12-hour shifts of A and B. So the maintenance staff, because they have 3 people, then they have the captain, they don't get that choice. They're A and B. But you have one person that'll be on A and the other person in that team that'll be on B. And that's so that people can, whatever needs to be done, we've got 12 hours a day that they're working, so they'll shift back and forth. And that doesn't wear out anybody, but it also makes sure the needs of the agency and our tenants are met. We utilize, as I said, the help from the local, state, and federal agencies. And we have to ensure that our tenants remain our focus. So it can't be that we're working on the administrative building and not worrying about what's happening in the tenant building. So just trying to get everybody aligned to see those things. And then when we get to our challenges, community partners. We have a unique situation in Fort Pierce because, yes, Victor knows about it. We have to call him constantly, to the point that when our legal, they'll call us, we haven't heard from you in a whole week, everything okay? So, but we have some unique challenges. One of them, as I mentioned yesterday, is the city thinks that they own the housing authority. So because they think they own the housing authority, they think they have a right to assign people that they're going to come here if a bad weather occurs, they're going to stay there if the bad weather occurs, or we're going to open the basement in this unit as a cold weather shelter. And we tell them we can't do that, but they're like, but you're part of the city. No, you just give us our commissioners.
I don't think that she can stress that enough. There are serious challenges in the city with respect to roles, identified roles between the city's charge of simply appointing their governing body, which is their board of commissioners, and the city thinking that they can go to the housing authority and open up shelters at the housing authority and, it absolves them of their responsibility as a city to provide shelter for their homeless. Mm-hmm. It's a unique challenge, it's a unique problem, and it's one that is evolving. Obviously, we have to be sensitive because they are commissioners, they are the mayor, and we're trying to work through that, but it has proven to be quite difficult. But we have made some significant headway in that regard. The other thing, and I see you have another thing, and I'm not trying to take up your presentation here, but one of the first things that I see is the PHA utilities authority. And I want to point that out. Most municipalities within the state of Florida utilizes Florida Power and Light. There are a few municipalities that have their own utility authority. Just so you will know, Fort Pierce Utility Authority has the highest utility rates in the entire state, but it's also one of the lower economic units in the entire state.
Yes.
So much so that we had to literally get involved because they would offer public housing units to individuals. They could never get their electricity turned on because sometimes the deposit is $600, $700, $800 just to get it turned on.
That's on the low end.
That's on the low end.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of have to get involved and kind of get amount of deposit that utilities are in charge is typically based on average amount for the previous winter and for the credit worthiness of the person. That's not what they were doing. They were creating a real significant challenge. So when we got involved, that kind of subsided somewhat. So I'm going to turn it back over to finish your presentation.
And that's very important because we had tenants whose their rent was $260. Their utility bill was $1,100. Wow. Yes. And as you know, if your utilities are off for more than 24 hours, you're subject to termination of lease. So we had some real challenges with them. So, and in addition to that, most of our properties are in the city, but we also have public housing in the county. The county and the city, although they're first cousins, they're warring a little bit. So, so it makes it very interesting. But we work with the Fort Pierce Police Department, and you don't see the St. Lucie County Sheriff, and that's because I'm good with this one, Victor. Victor got on me about this one as well. We have employed a St. Lucie County Sheriff's deputy lieutenant, and they work for the Fort Pierce Housing Authority. And their job is to make sure that in real time, anything that occurs, any kind of crime or any kind of infractions that occur, we know about them, and they go out and check on it themselves. So if we have a situation with a tenant, we call and say, Jason, we're having this problem. So he goes over and knocks on the door. You know, I hear we got a problem. What's going on here? So that we have a real face that we can work with. Well, they also have done a collaboration with Fort Pierce Police. So anytime the Fort Pierce Police is deployed, our person goes with them if it's any of our residents that are involved in the situation. So working with, but because of that now, the police department was like, well, why couldn't we have gotten the job? Well, it's easy. It's like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. The sheriff's department can go in all of the jurisdiction in the city and in the county, but the police can't go to the county. And we have an area that literally you stand here and there's a bridge and you go there. It's called Freedom Bridge because they run across it and the police can't do anything to it because now they moved into the sheriff's jurisdiction. And they literally escape and go across into that area. So bringing the sheriff can come right back over here and deal with it. So just making sure that all of those are policed because, as you know, sometimes people get into a situation after storms that, let me see what my neighbor has that I may need that I don't have. So having the police there helps us deal with that as well. Our challenges are in Fort Pierce, as in every part of Florida, we do not have stock in order to be able to relocate people should a storm occur. We have people with vouchers that have been out there that they can't find a unit to go to. So knowing that situation. Also, as I talked about with the infrastructure, we have a lot of inadequate, we're unique because we talk about the decentralization of poverty, but the housing authority units were built years ago where all of it is right here in one general area. But in that one general area, there are no hospitals, there are no grocery stores, there are no medical centers, there are no ATMs. There is nothing that allows people to get quick access to anything should they need it. And that's a challenge if you've got a storm and you've got major roads that are cut off. Also, tenant cooperation, just trying to get tenants to understand. And the last one I mentioned is the fact that we haven't had a storm since 2004. Every time we say, yes, knock on every wood, but every time we say that there's a storm and you need to batten down and prepare, it diverts. So it gets people in an attitude of, this isn't going to happen, don't worry about it. So they do less and less preparation every time. And the problem is the less preparation they do is just a matter of time, God forbid, when that storm hits and it gets us in a bad situation. Limited resources because, as I say, when you've got a small town, you've got the same, our police force has downsized because they couldn't find people. So you've got downsized forces, but you need an uptake when situations when you have this. So that's a great challenge for us. And I think the most, because all of that we've done in preparation, it's just theory. We have no practical. So all we can do is hope and pray that we've done the best we can. We've been logistically sound as possible, and we've tried to think about it. Rosetta and I have different personalities that work real well because Rosetta's is, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to deal with this. Mine is always, let me think of the worst thing that can possibly happen. And if I can prepare for that, anything after that is gravy. But Rosetta's like, let's not, but when it comes to storm, she said, go ahead, do your do, because we got to. So the thing is that, and the most important thing, we got to be positive, we got to be proactive, we've got to be prepared. And as Earl said, yes, sir, we also got to be ready. So that's our presentation.